Hello, Steve Arts 89. Well, I've been scouring Amazon for horror movies to watch because it's winter and it just feels like horror movie weather. And I stumbled across a couple. And one that I actually watched was the remake, the 2021 remake of Slumber Party Massacre. Now, the original, honestly, I can't remember which was the better one, the sequel or the original, because sometimes what happened to me back in the day was often you go to the video store and they would have the sequel but not the original. So sometimes you see the sequel first. And sometimes sequels are better than originals because they work out what fans liked about the original, what worked about the original, and they actually do it more. If I remember correctly, I found the second Slumber Party Massacre to be better than the original. But either way, they did a remake, and this was very strange. Now it starts off with a girl basically going to a car, and she sort of gets harassed by a guy I think she was dating. And at first you think, of course, well, first you're like, where are we? What's happening? We're starting in the middle of the story. We haven't had any setup. And then we're not quite sure who this guy is. Is he a killer? Is he a threat? And then they go back to the apartment and he's watching outside and he sees someone else watching the girls through the window on the other side of the building. He's basically looking in one window and seeing there's a guy on the other side looking in at the girls as well. So he goes over to confront him and he ends up being killed. And the driller killer, of course, because he's got a giant drill that he kills people with, if you haven't seen Slumber Party Massacre. And he ends up attacking the girls and killing, I think, or some of them, and one of them survives. And then later we jump, I think it was in 1993, so they're not recounting the events of the original films, which were, I think, I know one was in 82. I think they were all in the 80s. I'm thinking 70s. No, I think it was 80s, 82 and like 86 or something. They did like 3 Slumber Party Massacre films. I just looked at this last night. I just assumed I would remember all this, or I just had it in my knowledge, but apparently I don't. But yeah, so they apparently just, instead of going back to the original and trying to make that work with the time difference, they sort of wrote a new sort of version, and now they're doing like a sequel to like their own sort of history they've just created. And the daughter of the surviving woman basically is going away for friends for a slumber party, and in like a cabin somewhere, although it's quite not a little cabin, it's like a proper like house and building. And the mother's very worried, and there's this conversation between her and the daughter about how you've been afraid your whole life, just let me go off and live and not sort of, be sort of imprisoned by your fears and what happened to you and blah, blah, blah. So she goes off with her friends and they find that there's another girl that's snuck in and is like hiding in the back. They have problems with their car on the way. They end up being taken to the house by a local resident, and things don't quite go as planned. But the basic idea that you find out later on is that they're going to this place where this guy killed people in the past because they want to lure him out. They're basically staging a slumber party to lure him out so they can kill him and get revenge and avenge these women who were killed and free sort of this girl's mother from the fear of this guy is always there, because he was thrown into a lake at the end of their little 1993 session, but who knows if he's dead or not. You know how that works. If there's no body, they could be out there. And yeah, it gets weird pretty quick. Just the way hey, we're here to kill this guy, and like they're not prepared. It's not like there's a whole row of Buffy slayers with weapons. It's just like girls, and they just have knives that's sort of hidden around the apartment. I'm like, really? You guys think you're prepared to kill someone who's a serial killer, who's killed people? And then they find that there are these boys across the lake sort of doing the same thing. They've come to the area for the same sort of reason, and I think they maybe were in the original house, because I thought they were in the original house, but then they're talking about they couldn't get the original house, and these other guys are talking about, there was a murder in our house, we're there sort of to sort of celebrate that and blah, blah, blah. And these 3 guys are totally objectified, and it's fascinating. As a gay man, it's fascinating to see these boys all be totally objectified like the girls in the horror movies. To the point of just ridiculous levels where you see them, the girls go over to them and look through the windows and see them having pillow fights and basically acting the way girls are stereotypically supposed to act, or men fantasize about girls acting in slumber parties when they're alone together, in their bedrooms and that. And it was just hilarious. And one of the guys is really hot too. One isn't very attractive, but he's got a really great body. There's like three white guys who are all pretty average, a really hot black guy and a really hot guy who he looks like some of the Italian and Filipino guys I always thought were hot. So I'm not quite sure what his ethnicity was, but he's just really beautiful. And they kind of make fun of them, and it's fascinating because they're clearly doing this. They talk about the patriarchy and privilege and all this stuff, and it's all in there. But they play it out really well, and the guys play it off really well, where they're aware of it, but they're and they even comment on, we're men, we're going to go do the man thing. They go out and like, we're going to go find this guy outside, and it just and the girls are just like, did they just out slumber party us? And it was done in an interesting way, in a clever way, but I'm like, is this supposed to be funny? Is it supposed to be a parody? Is it supposed to be serious? I'm really not sure how we're supposed to take this. But unfortunately, the hottest guy gets a drill in the head like 2 minutes later, and he's not very smart about it. He takes on the guy, and he knocks his weapon out of his hand and drills him in the forehead before anything can happen. His face is totally destroyed. I'm like, that beautiful face, what did they do that for? But so and the black guy's the first to die, of course. He gets drilled in the forehead, and he's just lying there in the living room. They cover him up. Then the second guy to go is the other ethnically ambiguous hot guy, and then we're just left with actually one of the white guys is killed, but then we're left with the two really average white guys, one with a hot body. And there is a funny moment where he goes and he has a shower. He's showering. There's all the music and all that, and then like you sort of snap out of that, then you go back into it and the music's playing, and it's like they're totally objectifying him like you would a woman in one of those movies, and it's hilarious. And then he gets killed in the shower, of course, and then they have that last shot of the blood going down the drain like Psycho and everything. So there's no escaping what they're doing. And it's funny, it was so hilarious at some points, and I'm like, this is so over the top, I don't know how to take this. Am I supposed to be laughing at it consciously, or just laughing at it, or am I supposed to be taking it seriously and finding the criticism there? I don't know exactly what they were going for. Is this movie a comedy? Is it a parody of the original? Are they trying to be scary? There were a few moments that played like traditional horror movie, but eventually they kill the killer, or think they do. And there is a really annoying scene where the main girl, the body's laying there on the lawn the next morning, and they're sitting on the porch talking about it, and she just comes out. The boys are watching. They're like, did they kill him? What? Did they? What? And one of the girls just comes up and she just starts hacking on his back with a machete. And I'm like, because they always get back up. And I'm like, well, then cut his head off. Slit his throat from ear to ear, because he just had a little cut from here to here. It should be enough to kill him, but I was thinking that might not be enough to kill him. I'm trying to remember, does he actually come back? I know the body disappears. And then we find out his mother was the one who drove them there, and she was blaming the girls and sort of trying to defend her son on some level. And I can't remember if he died and she then was trying to avenge him, or if he actually came back and was killed a second time. I now can't remember. I just watched this last night. What's wrong with me? But so eventually they take on the woman. They eventually kill her, and they leave. And it was just a really weird film and interesting. It could have been better. The original one was very good. I love that it was just set in a suburban area, and it just felt like it could have been anyone's house and anyone having a slumber party, and I just really liked the original. When I saw it, I just remember being really impressed by one of the originals. I still can't remember. Was it the original I was seeing after I'd seen the first one, after I'd seen the second one, or was I seeing the am I thinking of the sequel first? I should have done more research before I started talking. But either way, I don't know if the film made any money. I can't see on Wikipedia. It was released in 2021. And I had heard about it. They got the original actor back. I think it's the original actor. He recently died a couple of months ago, actually. I think he was 84. I'm guessing it couldn't have been him in the film, because they had an actor who was younger. Oh, I really need to do more research. I was just assuming that was the actor from the original because it was an older guy. Not old, but older. He wasn't like 20s or something like most of the other cast and like the killer would have been. He was a little older, so I thought, oh, that must be the guy from the original films. But if the actor was 84 when he died, it couldn't have been him because that was only 5 years ago. So, okay, I'm confused. But either way, it was interesting. It was entertaining. I'm not quite sure what to make of it. And I would like them to do a more traditional remake of the original because we need more slashers and more fun horror films instead of these overly intellectualized, dry, traumatizing, horror movies that, really are real horror, but there's actually no fun in real horror, no joy in real horror, no catharsis in real horror. That's why there's not a lot of real horror movies that have been successful, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, for example. That's a real horror movie. It's no fun to watch. Yep. I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of the whole thing. Yep.